Son, how are you? Skies above. Gee, it's great to be alive and in love. Do-do-do-do.
Good morning, buenos dias. Okay, let's do a quick audio check as normal. Grab a sip while we wait. I think we're good. Yep. Okay, I have been informed that my daughter left her big science project at home. Eh, So I get to do a live stream, wrap this up, and express courier something over to her school. So let's get started. Welcome to my life. Ask questions, comments, YouTube, Twitch. I apparently forgot to put something here. Lo siento. So, how's it going? What are you working on? What fun antics are you getting into or experiencing in the Business Central world? I have several. Um, let's see how many I cover here. Um, so last weekend was pretty good. I had my homemade curtido, if you recall. So I went to the pupuseria, which it turns out, unbeknownst to me, I didn't, I thought there were only a few kind of far away from me, but there are like 10 different pupuserias and Salvadoran restaurants within 10 miles of me. It's kind of wild. So I had no idea. So I went to one, Pupuseria El Tazumal, and it was a pretty hardcore, legit pupuseria. It's a big place, not the fanciest place, but carrying on the tradition. And apparently, like it's pretty legit. They have desayuno típico, pupusas, you name it. They got all the Salvadoran foods. It was like wild to see. However, 8 pupusas were $40. $5 a pupusa. I shared that with the team in El Salvador, and their jaw hit the floor. That is insane. That's like paying $50 for a hamburger or something. It's pretty nuts. So then the home maintenance and cleaning and housekeeping started. And we did a little pool maintenance, got it cleaned up, hopefully in preparation for the fall and winter. We might need to do one more cleaning, but did a nice preemptive cleaning there. My cybersecurity intern helped with the pool cover cleaning. And then I, for no particular reason, smoked a 14.8 pound brisket, a full brisket. And so that was smoking for 14 hours overnight. And there is our flat. So, yeah, that was pretty popular. Fed the neighbors, they were pretty happy. And the girls made a brisket sandwich on ciabatta, which looked pretty legit. And then wrapped up the weekend by watching the F1 movie um, on Amazon or something, streaming that with Brad Pitt and Javier Bardem. It was actually, I had just very low expectations. It was actually a fun, enjoyable movie. So that was good. It was a good weekend, very enjoyable. Weekly projects. Looks like I have a few gaps here, but um, Jocelyn is jamming on financial statements. Tanya supplied me with a Power BI billable hours report, and the goal is to start to monitor every week billable, non billable hours across the entire team so that we can start to see where we're at. And they can become full on consultants from ERP Center of Excellence interns to real life business central consultants where billable hours and utilization really matter, as you well know. And today is the big day. This week has been the big week for the go live of the Bill.com MEM integration app go live. And that is what I will be doing later today. Um, on Monday, I signed up for and attended some of the Areopa Academy webinar, and you can check that out over on their YouTube channel, youtube.com at Areopa Webinars. And the particular session that I attended was one by Stefan Socik about AL, writing good AL in order to get good SQL performance. And basically, if you write poor AL code, you will get poor AL performance. And so I listened in on a little bit of that. So you can always check out the recording on YouTube later. So they have a full library, quite a few recorded sessions. So go on over there and check it out. And I decided to try and work outside a little bit, get some sun, and enjoy the nice weather before it turned extremely hot and rainy and humid here in Los Angeles. So that was my afternoon workspace on Monday for a minute. And I tried something. I needed to create some documentation for our new AppSource app. And so I said, hey, rather than starting from scratch, let me try to use Perplexity and Cursor and see if they can help me write a user guide. So I sat down at 2:43 p.m. and said, hey, Perplexity, create a prompt for Cursor to review my code or our application code and create a user guide. It said, sure, here's a prompt you can use to tell Cursor to do what you want to do. So I didn't create the prompt for Cursor. Perplexity created the prompt for Cursor. So kind of like MCPs and AI agents, I have Perplexity tell Cursor what to do. Now, this is kind of the poor man's version of that, but so Cursor, create a user guide from app code, format it in text to be used in Word, and it turned out to be about 10 pages. And I had a draft of that by 3:45 p.m. So in 1 hour, I had a 10-page user guide. And could I have done something like that in 1 hour? I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have been anywhere near complete in terms of the 10 pages. Now, would I have had a little better content? Perhaps, but it at least provided me with a full outline. And by 3:45 p.m., I had it in Word, fully formatted, ready to send off as a draft. So I don't know if that's impressive, good, bad, whatever, but it was helpful. So there you go. After 1 hour, I had the initial user guide draft ready to go and ready to edit. So that's one benchmark for you. And on Monday afternoon, our developer published our new AppSource app, which is the Bill.com MEM integration. So that was published, ready to go, ready for our internal testing as an AppSource app. And I was observing that I am working some long days. So I just decided to kind of annotate, when did I start? When did I end? And yeah, it's turning out to be a lot of hours as I update Thursday. Okay, so there we go. So yeah, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. was my Monday. On Tuesday, I had a phone call with someone I hadn't spoken with in years. We went to the same college, and I guess, introduced him to a company where he was able to get a job out of college. And so we had kind of stayed in touch for a few years, but I hadn't heard from him for many years. And it turns out he's gone on to get jobs that have ended up being had him working in essentially the cybersecurity field at the enterprise space. These are like, hundreds of $1 million companies or billion-dollar companies, public companies. He's working with formal standards like NIST, federal government cybersecurity standards, CISSP, really enterprise-grade stuff. And I guess an acquisition occurred, and he's looking to start his own thing now. So we talked about he has experience in Latin America as well, Colombia, Belize, Costa Rica. So he saw my work in El Salvador, and he said, "Hey, Steve, what's going on there?" So we had a nice talk, explained what I was doing with ERP Center of Excellence in El Salvador, why El Salvador, how are things going. And I said, hey, if you want to do the Cybersecurity Center of Excellence in El Salvador, I would be game for that. So he's going to think about it, lots of considerations, but that would be pretty cool. And then I signed up for the MVP Summit, which is in March 2026 at the Redmond campus in Washington. And I looked at hotels, and the Marriott in Bellevue is roughly $300 a night, which I consider pretty crazy. One reason I consider it crazy is because I am now used to paying $37 a night for a hotel in El Salvador, and that usually includes breakfast and free parking. And they'll give you a bottle of water for free as well, unlike, say, Las Vegas, where it's $8 for a bottle of water. So $300 a night is kind of tough to swallow, and the budget options around there are a meager $200 a night, which is still pretty insane. So not sure what I'm going to do, but yeah, it's kind of pricey. Pretty hard to justify, $600 to $1,000 in hotels, plus flight, plus transportation when we're there. So we'll see. And contracts are a hassle. Submitted a master services agreement to a customer, and one of their executives came back. I don't know where they got these proposed changes, if it was GPT or something else, with these really random changes at various places. And it's like, we want you to waive all liability limitations. Like, no, that would be dumb. And if anyone has heard me talk about my session that I gave last year on avoiding $1 million lawsuit as a Dynamics partner, you would know why that is dumb. So they're telling us that they want us to have a clause that explicitly waives our limitations of liability if we do X, Y, or Z. I'm like, who are you? So basically, it's my ChatGPT fake lawyer against their ChatGPT fake lawyer for us to negotiate a contract. I'm like, oh, come on. It's like, okay, this can go on the back burner for a week because I have better things to do than to explain to you why it is stupid to waive a limitation of liability in a contract. Okay, so that was my Monday. And then the joys of RDLC, I had a call with Jocelyn, and she's like, anytime I touch this RDLC report, it just breaks. And she does one thing. She changes the color. She moves one thing. Like the slightest change. And when she goes from her version 8 to the version 9, when she tries to import it into BC, she gets this error. Rendering output failed. The value of the top property for the Tablix table 1 is negative. Negative sizes are not allowed. We're like, what is going on? So we look at the RDLC, we try to figure out what table 1 is, what this Tablix is. And as you know, if you've used RDLC for BC reports, like it's nearly impossible to find any given object on a check report, right? This is a US check report, pain in the butt. So I said, hey, let's open it in Notepad. Let's find what this issue is. And sure enough, on line 1419, there it is. Top property negative 0.00001 inch. So for some reason, whenever this report is saved again, it is misinterpreting the position of this Tablix in a table or whatever this is, and is pushing it. It's recalculating something, and there's a rounding error that results in a negative 0.00001 inch position. Insane. So we had to manually edit this RDLC file, remove the negative, set it to 0, and that allowed her to proceed. Crazy buggy, super annoying. So we finally figured that out. And then I tried to work at my outdoor office again. And I'm like, wow, it feels kind of hot out here. And I look at some weather map, it's like 84 degrees. I'm like, no, this feels a lot warmer than 84 degrees. So I go grab a thermometer from inside, stick it on my desk, and it says 84. I'm like, huh, it feels really hot. Then it goes to 87. Then it goes to 90, then 92. Well, by the time it got to 98.8 degrees, I said, that's it. I'm calling it. I'm out of here. Packed up, went inside. Basically 99 degrees outside in the shade. It was brutal. So I was like, yep, it was crazy weather. And yeah, then we got rain a couple days later. So that was my Tuesday, 8:30 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. working all day. And has anyone tried the Windows Phone Link app on Windows 11? I got nagged or prompted for this by Windows. I'm like, okay, I'll give it a try. I heard of this many moons ago, a couple years ago maybe. Um, and I believe someone from Microsoft, like Kenny, someone might have tried it. But they said, yeah, it does this, but it's kind of limited. So I didn't bother. Well, I finally tried it. Well, it still looks limited. Like, let me know if anyone has used this, but I don't get it. Maybe it's different for an Android, but for an iPhone, it's just annoying. It's an incomplete implementation. Like, I appreciate they're trying, but you can only see certain messages you received. It doesn't do a sync. It's not actually connected with the iPhone. It's basically doing a Bluetooth connection to kind of intercept notifications. And then as your phone is beeping or ringing or whatever, it's mimicking that behavior on your Windows desktop. I'm just finding it annoying. It does not display messages you send from your phone. You only see, say, iMessage messages that you've received while you were synced via Bluetooth with your desktop. And when your phone rings, the desktop rings, and I'm not about to try to answer a phone from my desktop, like a phone call from my desktop. So I think I'm just going to disable and uninstall it. It just seems like, I don't know, like twine and duct tape. And I part of it is I'm not familiar with it. I don't trust it. It seems incomplete. So I'm just like, why bother? It's one thing that I do wish I could use with, say, Mac OS or a whatever the MacBooks are called. It would be nice to have that phone integration, but alas, Mac OS is not in the cards for me. So yeah, it did not work out for me. So I think I'm going to be disabling that. My favorite keyboard. So I currently use, yeah, Brad says, I keep telling you need to move over the Apple ecosystem, brother. I tried Apple many moons ago. It was the most buggy, horrid mess in the world. And I'm like, there's no way this is a bug. Sure enough, it's been a bug for 8 years in Mac OS. Like, you're kidding me. It was horrible. So while I appreciate there's some benefits, it's just, frying pan to the fire. It's got its own issues. So I'll stick with the devil I know, right? So my favorite keyboard for the last 14 years has been the Philco Ninja Magistouch MX Brown. And while that is a mouthful, it's basically a mechanical keyboard made in Japan since 2004. I have no recollection how I found it, why I chose that one, but then the word ninja in the name means that the letters are not on the top of the keycaps, they are on the front of the keycaps. And that's the primary, one of the reasons why I chose that particular model is because if you're a hardcore typist like me, you know that you will wear the keys, the top of the keys off. And every keyboard I had literally wear all the letters off in the home row for sure. And basically just wear the paint off the keys if they were painted and not injection molded. So I found this Philco Ninja. It has the lettering on the front of the keys, which makes the top completely blank and perfect. Worked great. It's hardcore, solid metal base, MX Brown switches, no frills, no gamers stuff, whatever. Excellent keyboard. First one lasted about 8 years before it started acting flaky. And I don't know if it was the switches, I don't know if it's circuit board. don't know. I didn't try to fix it or repair it. I just bought a new one. Um, and now, after about 6 years, I'm getting weird behavior. And I don't know if it's my desktop, USB ports, or the keyboard. Like it just stops working. I unplug it, plug it back in, like really random stuff. So I don't have the time or the patience to try to see what that might be. But I'm thinking of ordering a new one. And the only downside to this is because it's made in Japan and apparently imported, they're hard to find. You cannot find them at your local Best Buy or on Amazon. There are resellers who sell them on Amazon, but this particular model with the 10 key is not on Amazon. So still shopping for that as of Tuesday or whatever. Now, I did try a Cherry brand. The Cherry brand, it's called the Cherry MX Board 3.0, as a red silent switches in it. And I have purchased a couple of these for the team in El Salvador, and very nice keyboards. But I didn't realize, so I ordered it, and I didn't realize the problem with the keyboard. So this is my Philco keyboard, and you'll notice between the Escape and F1, there is a gap. Also between F12 and PSSR, whatever, print screen, I guess, print screen, there is a small gap. And also between the print screen scroll lock and the insert delete key group, there is a gap. I didn't like really realize how important these small gaps are. And on the Cherry keyboard, there are virtually no gaps. So in between the Escape and F1, they have their function key. So you have no way to just position by feel or by quick look which one is F1, which one is F2. Like you lose reference between Escape and F4. And then over on the print screen, the gap is actually quite small to the point where I can't tell where F12 and where F12 is, where print screen is. And then there is no gap when you go down to the insert delete page up, page down key group. So I was just completely disoriented and super slow using this thing. It's like, okay, I just can't do this. And I am so used to the Philco, and it is just a finely honed instrument that my hands are just ingrained with that. It's an extension of my hand. So I was like, okay, I cannot do this. Also, the backlight on this board, the RGB lighting, I was like, oh, that'll be helpful. I can, have some light on the keys. Fortunately, it does not put the light underneath the keys to illuminate, say, the lettering on the front side of the keys, which this does have, which is nice. It's got the LEDs lower at the base of the switches so that when you look down in between the gaps in the keys, basically the LEDs are shining in your eyes. And it's like I see glare and I cannot see the letters on the keycap. It's like, okay, I really tried. It's like, I just can't do this. And so, yeah, I was like, I learned my lesson. So the orientation of fingers based on the key grouping, I realized is hugely important, especially at the speeds that I type and for my typing proficiency. So, yeah, so Christian says the Cherry looks terrible for muscle memory. Exactly. Like I am so tied to this layout of this keyboard, which I had no idea at the time. Now I know, do not mess around with keyboard layouts unless you just want to grind to your productivity to a halt. So yeah, the Cherry just is not for me. And so I looked up to see my purchase history, the Philco, 2011, 2019. The first one lasted 8 years. This one has lasted exactly 6 years. It seems to be okay. It's just in and out. I don't know what the issue is. So I looked up the Philco, and they now call it the Magis Touch 3. And I like the Ninja, which has the flat or the lettering on the front of the keys and the blank key cap tops. So yeah, that's what I'm looking for. And you see those lovely gaps in the keys. Now I did find the 10 keyless version on Amazon, but I was still searching for the 10 key full size version somewhere. And just for reference, the difference between the Cherry MX Red, the Cherry keyboard with the MX Red silent keys, and my Philco, this was my test with the Cherry. only 80 words per minute. It was noticeably slow. I was kind of fighting it. I don't know if that's the red switches or the key layouts or what. The red switches are significantly different if you're used to brown. And this is the result easily with the Philco. So 80 words per minute to 90 words per minute, just like I wasn't doing anything special. 10 words per minute difference, huge difference for me. So I was like, okay, that's it. Cherry's going back. I'm going to order a Philco. The Cherry was only on sale for like $46, $50 or something. The Philco is going to be $130, but like it's the primary interface tool in my computer. So Wednesday, Miraculous. Got an email. I still support hundreds of Dynamics GP customers. So I'm doing ISV solution support for a customer and coordinating with a partner. I'm like, okay, here's what you need to look at, XYZ. It's the partner and the customer on this support ticket. The partner says, sorry, we're busy. We can't help you. Go contact the ISV yourself. It's your problem. Great customer service, folks. I mean, GP customers are not in a good spot now in many cases. There are some very good partners still left, don't get me wrong, but I'm seeing this more and more. This is a like well-known GP partner, but they're like, we're busy. We don't know this ISV. You got to deal with it. Even though their consultant spent hours with me working with this customer and testing and configuring the ISV solution. So it turns out I have a call with the customer. Customer has no access to SQL Server Management Studio because even though the SQL Server and the application server, terminal servers are all theirs, they're VMs, the partner is the only one with SA access and a full login on the SQL Server. I don't quite understand what's going on there, but customers like, we can't log into the SQL Server. We don't have access. Only the partner does. And this is the partner who says, no, we're not going to help you. We're too busy. Red flag, folks. Then we're poking around, and this is what I see. Run as env user : clients. So I don't know whose server this is. It's weird. Clients / username, exe less than symbol, pass.txt. Pass.txt. What might that be, you ask? Why, yes, it was a text file with a domain user password in it. And then we find another text file with a license key and another password, which may be the SA password. I don't know. I didn't bother testing. So this partner who is too busy, who is the only person who has the SA login for this customer, the customer cannot access their own SQL Server, is storing passwords in text files on the SQL Server. 5 stars, folks. Gold star. Good job. And then I worked with an ISV. It's not really an ISV for Business Central. It's a third-party SaaS platform. They use the word bill. You don't get an invoice, you get a bill. But when you open the bill, what is a field on the bill? It's invoice number. When people try to get clever with terminology, like it just causes problems. So they don't do invoices, they do bills that have invoice numbers. Come on, man. And so we're having to navigate this lingo, this bizarre proprietary, almost consumer-oriented lingo for a business platform that uses the term bill. So I'm having to coordinate this language. And then on the good news front, Jocelyn is jamming on Business Central financial reports. She is dealing with just this massive list of GL accounts from a large customer, and she's going through and building all the GL account categories so that she can then do the row formats or layouts for these financial reports. So it is quite a project, very interesting. So she's learning a lot there. And my Wednesday went from 8 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. Yes. And then I read about this. It is a Microsoft Entra token vulnerability, and boy, it is a doozy. this would be a pretty serious vulnerability. And so this guy's name, Dirk John Mollema, apologize for the mispronunciation, and he figured out, he speaks at Black Hat and DEF CON, so, he's pretty legit. He figured out that Microsoft allows you to issue tokens, what are called actor tokens. And once you issue an actor token in a tenant, it turns out that gives you access to global admin permissions on a tenant. And he figured out that when you take an actor token from tenant A, you can use it on tenant B. Any tenant B. And that gives you intra-global admin on any tenant in the world. Holy cow, crazy. And apparently, the trick was he used it through the Azure AD Graph API. So here's this vulnerability that's existed for who knows how long. And he reported it to Microsoft. He fixed it Microsoft fixed it within a few days, and then they rolled out further mitigations. Big deal. CVE 2025-55241, folks. Like, this is why we cannot have nice things. Good morning, Eric. Done with cold coffee number 1. On to iced coffee number 2. Okay, so check out this blog from dirkjanm.io, obtaining global admin in every Entra ID tenant in the entire world with actor tokens. Bonkers. Upcoming events. Summit NA is in October 20th to the 23rd in Orlando. And we are sponsoring, by we, I mean Tanya and Shannon, and our lovely sponsors are sponsoring the BC Bash. That is Tuesday, October 21st at 9 p.m. at the Cuba Libre restaurant. You do need to register. There is limited capacity. So head on over to this QR code there, steveendo.link/BCBash2025, all lowercase, and register on the whatever that event page is called. Directions EMEA, November 4th through 6th in Poland. And then we have a new entrant in the conference lineup. And this is Partner in Vibe Conference. This is January 28th through 30th in South Padre Island, Texas. And you will head on over to partnerin.io. And Partnerin is a new company started by Molly and Liz, formerly of Dynamics User Group. And they have decided to launch Partnerin to offer, I'm learning more about it, but apparently partner-oriented training, education, discussions, roundtables, kind of advisory offerings. I'm not sure yet. But their first conference is called Vibe, January 28th through 30th. Now, the only caveat, which I will ask them about, is their very bold choice of South Padre Island, Texas. If you pull up this lovely location on Google Maps and zoom out, you will say, whoa. It is a good 4-hour drive, I believe, from south of San Antonio. It is at the tip of Texas. It is basically where the Starbase SpaceX launch site is. It's just north of there. And it is at the... I forget what hotel it's at, but yeah, very bold choice. So there happens to be a small airport near South Padre Island that you will presumably need to fly into unless you're up for a 4-hour road trip from San Antonio. So it's a bold choice. So I'm hoping to speak with them and understand more about that location venue selection. Um, Eric, no, Dynamics Con is carrying on. I believe I read that Liz McGlennon is was brought on in some role. I don't know that she's going to be part of the Dynamics Con organization, but she will be working with Doug, and I'm a huge fan of Liz McGlennon. She is awesome, so that was a excellent choice there. Bobby Small is still present at Dynamics User Group, and I forget who is still helping organize, but yes, I am also interested in next steps for DynamicsCon. I have not received any communication on the planning of that event yet, so we are looking to see how that's going to work out. So we are working on it. And yes, DF, interesting choice for January for the partner in Vibe. Agreed. They are very aggressive, but if you know Molly and Liz, you know they are pretty hardcore ladies. So I have full faith in them. I would love to attend, but we'll see. The South Padre Island is a bit of a chore to get to, but I am always supportive of Molly and Liz. They know that. So if they tell me that I need to be in Texas in January, I shall comply and I will be there. But I'll see what I can do. And then lastly, next year, Dynamics Minds, May 25th through 27th in Slovenia. It is the Cool Hip Conference in Portorož, Slovenia, at the resort on the beach. So, statement of work, being a fortune teller, folks. Whenever you have to draft a statement of work for something that is custom, new, unique, novel, something you haven't done before 10 times, holy cow, you basically need to be a fortune teller. Why? Because if you have been in this consulting business for very long, you know inevitably something is going to come up that is not covered in the statement of work, is not covered in the scope statement, is not covered in the exclusion statement, and worst case scenario, is not covered in your master services agreement or any documented agreement. And guess what happens in that case? Customer says, well, I would expect this to be covered. I would expect this to be in scope. Who would do this without including a report to cover the information? Right? Like, duh, of course the report's covered. Because you forgot to put in your exclusions section that this report is specifically not included. That multi-currency rounding errors can occur and is specifically not included. And unit cost rounding variance across a 25-step transaction is a standard consequence of this workflow in Business Central, and you are not responsible for them for your PTE. Let me tell you, you need to be a fortune teller. That's pretty hard to do, as you may imagine. And so in most cases, the best you can have is lots of experience, lots of war wounds, lots of battle scars, and just intuition and luck as to what you include in your statement of work. Case in point, Exhibit A. We delivered a PTE. It's not our PTE. It was inherited from a partner who was not maintaining it. It was preventing the customer from upgrading to V26. So it got dumped on us and we upgraded it to V26 and they are testing it. And yeah, Eric says things not mentioned are not included. Yeah, it's a great idea. I'm going to put it in my next statement of work that I'm working on now because like dumpster fire that I'm working on at the moment. But in this case, BC PTE code upgrade, statement of work, scope and exclusions. Here's what we're doing. Here are the deliverables. And in some moment of clarity, I'm picking up a cold from my daughter. In a moment of clarity, I listed these exclusions. Updates to code structure, design, object naming, variable naming, spelling corrections, or optional refactoring are out of scope. Use of code analyzers, linters, code cops, optimizers to identify suggested code changes or optimizations. Out of scope. Fixes to features or functionality that do not function properly, are incomplete, or are incompatible with BC26. Out of scope. Change request. Enhancements, modifications, updates to features or functionality. The PTE? Nope. Changes to reports or report layouts, because there's like 20 of them in this thing. Nope. Functional configuration or data issues. Nope. Functional testing. Nope. Not our problem. We don't even know what's in this thing. User training, user guides, functional documentation. And at the top, scope of exclusions. The goal of this project is to make as few changes as possible to allow the PTE to work with Business Central v26. Because I knew we were going to hit landmines. And sure enough, customer does testing, says, oh, this number series doesn't work properly. Fine. That was us. We had to update the number series for v26, and we fixed that issue. No problem. But then they're testing to say, oh, we still have this issue where excuse me. Yeah, Eric says, geez. Eric says, changes due to updates from Microsoft are out of scope. Excellent point. Thank you, Christian. Yes. My daughter claims she's not sick, doesn't have a cold, even though she's sneezing and coughing all morning. Welcome to the club. So, customer comes back. They say, after I perform this 27-step process in Business Central that peripherally might involve this PTE, the unit cost on my purchase order is 3 cents off from the unit cost from the posted sales invoice. Great. And I'm thinking, you've got to be kidding me. This is going to be a nightmare. But thankfully, the customer in their email says, we still have the issue of blah, blah, blah. It's like, sorry, out of scope. Bingo. Fixes to features or functionality that do not function properly, are incomplete, are out of scope. That was my first out. So I'm starting to write a change request to deal with this, thinking, how in the world are we going to figure this out? This is cost layers with lot controlled items going from purchase order to like in transit inventory, transfer inventory. I don't even know, because it was only one sentence describing the process, all the way over to a sales order, sales invoice, and then posting unit cost variance. So I'm writing this up, trying to figure out how in the world am I going to propose researching this issue. And so 2 pages into the news change request, which is this nightmare of lingo to try and limit the scope, I'm like, wait a minute. I better see if this is just a consequence of BC unit cost calculations. So I asked Perplexity. And lo and behold, let me see if did I cover this? Yes. Check this out, folks. Perplexity is my savior, avoiding painful research and reverse engineering. A Business Central customer is generating a sales order based on purchase order, in-transit inventory, transfer order process involving lot-controlled items. When the sales order is posted, the user reports unit costs for some items on the sales order, sales invoice, I don't know, is slightly different than the unit cost recorded on the purchase order. Oh, thank you, Perplexity. Ta-da! Yes, Business Central may show slight differences in unit costs between sales order and the corresponding purchase order when items are managed through that process. This occurs because Business Central uses different logic for calculating and updating unit costs at each stage, and depending on the costing method and lot tracking configuration. And get this doozy of a statement, which I didn't know this because I don't deal with this a lot. And this is in Business Central. I have more experience in Dynamic GP. Transactions within a single lot may still be subject to FIFO LIFO, or average cost logic within that lot. My head just exploded at this, and I went over to one of the links, which is to Inecta. And if you know the guy with the beard at Inecta who stands in front of the brick wall and does his chalkboard lunchtime lessons, he has a nice blog post and video on this. And even he was like, yeah, this is kind of interesting. This is kind of what it does. Never would have thought. I'm like, whew, okay, we're off the hook. I aborted the change request. I literally just sent this Perplexity link and this article and a PDF over to the partner and said, hey, expected behavior, happy to discuss, but I do not think this is worth pursuing, dozens of hours to research. So, holy cow, I dodged a huge bullet there. And I'm thinking, how are we going to research this? And what if after 24 hours, we discover this is just standard BC functionality, which it appears to be. Thursday, Jueves, Bill.com MEM integration testing, our AppSource app was published, and Ronald and I started walking through the app, do full end-to-end testing, installation, registration, configuration, initial testing, log review, you name it. It is going well, so that is good. And let's see, what is this screenshot? Not even sure yet. Oh, okay. Then I had a call, this is random, not BC related. I'm dealing with trying to finalize my taxes and the IRA contribution and what options I have there. And my tax preparer said, oh, well, why don't you talk to our on-call financial advisor and see if she can help you? So I had a call with her, and she made a statement that was kind of scary because I am no investing or retirement detail expert. She said, Steve, you are probably the most knowledgeable and prepared person I think I've ever spoken with. That is a terrifying statement. Not for me necessarily, but for her and her clients. If I am the most educated and prepared person in terms of investing in financial retirement planning, oh boy, we are in a world of hurt. Because I hadn't been thinking about a Roth IRA the last 10 years. Like, I thought I was phased out by income. I was wrong. They've been changed over the years. I don't know what they were, but I'm still not phased out. I don't know if I ever was. So I could have been contributing for Roth the last decade. I haven't been. Yeah. I was wrong about other things about like Section 130 or whatever. In the US, we have these things where you sell your house and how you roll over the capital gains. I was wrong about that. And then she told me something that I looked up later and she was incorrect. So like, I get it, it's complex, but yeah, I would say get your financial house in order, plan for retirement, work on it. It does take some planning. And this other scary thing she said, I typically don't work with people until they're closer to retirement. And I'm like, what's the point then? Like, you're locked in by the time you're 65. Like, how many changes are you going to make in the last few years of your retirement? I want to make them now, get organized now, so that I have the next 10, 15, hopefully 20 years to prepare for this process. Anyway, so that was interesting. And then I had a gift. I had to open Teams to deal with something, and this popped up. And it's from June, but I don't check Teams like this. Viva Glint. And this is the road sign that appears to tell you that Microsoft has absolutely lost the plot. Absolutely, completely, undoubtedly lost the plot. When you see something called Viva Glint for Teams, I don't know what to tell you, but that is like the fall of Rome. Like, okay, what is this? I'm not even going to look it up. because I don't care, because it's going to go away in 3 years and be dropped as some product because there's a bad idea in the first place and no one uses it. And do you have to pay for this as an additional license? I don't know. Like, man, just whoever came up with the name Viva, let alone Glint, sorry, someone in the marketing department needs to be fired there. Like, baffling. And then I struggled on a statement of work. Man, it is painful. Been trying to work on it for weeks. And why? Because like this is what's dumped in my lap. And they're like, here you go. Here's a field mapping. Not going to tell you anything else about how what we want for this custom PTE. There's the field mapping. I've had to blur it, but that's what it looks like. It's an Excel file with this absolute nightmare of color coding, and I'm supposed to make heads or tails of it. So I spent like 3 hours yesterday trying to decipher this, and I'm like, how am I going to bill for this? I'm going to bill for it because this is a nightmare. This is getting dumped in my lap, and I'm supposed to come up with a coherent, accurate statement of work that includes lots of scope and exclusions to cover my butt, because I know that this does not begin to capture the requirements involved. And they're demanding it by October 1st. So we'll see how that goes. And I was so tired. I was drinking coffee, needed more coffee. Just, I had to give up by 9:30. I was like, whatever. So yeah, 8 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. last night. And yesterday, I learned, not from SonicWall, but I saw it on Twitter. Not a week goes by without a major cybersecurity vendor having a breach, and this time it was SonicWall's turn. Fortinet, Cisco, Palo Alto, you name it, everyone's got them. This week was SonicWall, and SonicWall was breached, firewall backup data exposed, and this is not their SonicWall products per se. This is their My SonicWall portal service for customers that happens, among other things, licensing, renewals, product management, is the service where you will back up your firewall configuration. And by breaching these accounts on My SonicWall, you can retrieve the configuration files for a given firewall. You can reverse engineer it, potentially try and crack the description or decipher, or the encryption, decipher what's in there, and have a target ready to go lined up. So it's kind of a problem, right? They claim the configuration files are encrypted, but you know, these people who are attacking are not. They're fairly clever. So sure enough, My SonicWall Cloud File Backup Incident, this is their disclosure. They confirmed that threat actors access the backup files for less than 5% of the firewall base. And I didn't recall seeing it, but Ted was telling me he thought he saw that it was a brute force or credential stuffing attack. So this is me and Ted last night chatting about this, resetting our passwords on My SonicWall. Ted, brother in arms, cheers. So I have someone to commiserate with whenever there is a SonicWall security issue. And yesterday, I found some good news. The vendor on Amazon who sells Philco keyboards sent them a message, said, hey, I see this model. Do you have this model, the one I want? And they said, we don't sell it on Amazon, but we sell it on our website. Turns out they sell it cheaper on their website than on Amazon. So this is it. This is the Philco Magistouch 3 Ninja with Cherry MX brown switches for $129, which is actually a good deal. It's cheaper than the other two that I purchased over the last 14 years. And it apparently is still being manufactured, new model, I'm not sure. They have the blue and red, but brown is coming in. And so I need to pre-order this, and it should be in by the end of the month or early October. So that is good news. Cheers, Ted. Buenos dias, senor. Senor. So mechanicalkeyboards.com, shout out my new Philco dealer. I'm going to order. Hopefully they come through. And worst case, I have a backup keyboard. And another Perplexity fun thing that I'm doing, I'm calling the Perplexity Newsroom. So I occasionally glance. I'm not a big fan of news because it is so just dumb. It feels like I'm getting lobotomy whenever I see news and headlines and what has sparked controversy today. But I occasionally glance at headlines just to kind of see what dumb things are going on. And in the Los Angeles Times, I saw this and I'm just like, wait, what? I could read this 5 times and have no idea what this means. Lawyers who hit LA City with whopping bill on homeless case get 4 million more. Like, I don't even know if that's English. I don't know what that says. Like, it communicates nothing to me. And maybe it's a complex thing. Like, I get it. Someone has to write this headline. So I don't have a subscription and I'm not about to pay for this stuff. They have a paywall. So what I do now is if there's something I kind of want to understand, what does this mean? I just copy the headline and I paste it into Perplexity. I don't even have to ask it. I just paste the headline in or the topic in, like LA City homeless legal something, and it'll just tell me. So interestingly, it seems Perplexity is able to index all this content. And it just gives me a nice summary. And it says the city council has approved increase in this law firm contract, blah, 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 additional payments above the original estimate. And it just talks about the lawyer bills and the legal contract. And I'm like, I still don't know what's going on. So I then ask it, what does it even mean? What does legal work on a high profile homeless case mean? Like, are homeless people suing the city? Is LA suing homeless people? Like, I don't get it. And so apparently this is related to have the city having to retain this legal firm, this law firm, in order to defend itself about from lawsuits, something about homelessness. And I started asking more questions, and it turns out the city of Los Angeles has over $3 billion in legal liability as a result of lawsuits and settlements having to do with like homelessness and homeless shelters, and it being unconstitutional to something like tell a homeless person they can't sleep somewhere unless the city has adequate shelter for them to go to, something like that. And so there's federal decrees on city of LA. It's like crazy. So city of LA residents are having to shell out over $3 billion in lawsuits, settlements, and rulings for a city that only has a $14 billion annual budget. That city is going to be broke soon. That's my conclusion from not reading the article. And I saw this last night related to AI and technology and finance teams, which I was like, ooh. So I think this is in Wall Street Journal. So I did another test. I copied this headline, just pasted it in Perplexity. Amazon's finance teams are relying more on AI and not just for the simple stuff. So all you BC folks, you're just doing the simple stuff, presumably, right? But it's actually kind of interesting. So Perplexity tells me that Amazon is expanding use of AI, applying generative models, not just for simple automation like the ERP stuff, right? But compliance, tax analysis, detailed revenue assessment, fraud detection, account reconciliation, impact of new product launches, comply with intricate tax rules, synthesize information from multiple sources for more precise evaluations, AI agents that can help approve employee purchases, retrieval augmented generation. I don't know. So anyway, I barely understand half of that stuff, but like, man, the Amazon AI internal teams must be pretty cracked to develop this stuff. Like, I've seen some videos on a guy who works internally at Amazon, and crazy, crazy top 1% proficiency for those IT guys. So like, this sounds like science fiction. I can barely understand what's going on. Eric says that, let me tell you about my AI accountant app. Yeah, Let me know how that goes. I'm a little skeptical, but if Amazon has $1 billion loss, it could be because an AI went rogue and gave them some incorrect information. So Friday, Viernes, trying to wrap up so I can play Uber and deliver a project to my daughter at school. Today is the big day. Bill.com MEM integration go live. Holy cow, this project has been a doozy. Apparently, we started on this in February. Things got serious around March, April, and then the project was much larger than we anticipated. The Bill.com API is just crazy. Turns out they have 3 versions. And you would think you'd want to use version 3, but no, version 3 is incomplete. You have to still use version 2 for over half of your calls. It's been a doozy. And then you add MEM in the mix, multi-entity, multi-organization, multi-company, crazy complexity. So we're finally going live today in about an hour. And I have to check December flights to El Salvador because I'm going there for our El Coyolar Christmas Festival where we give underprivileged kids toys. We're going to have a Santa. We're going to have a trampoline, a bouncy house, entertainment, prizes. It's going to be a good time. So I'd like to be there this year. And I go and check the flights last night and just randomly certain days of the week, one-way ticket, LA to El Salvador, $1,100. El Salvador, folks, $1,100 one way. So the cheapest I could find is like $369 for certain fare class. So $369, $600, $800, $1,100. Just pick a day of the week and the prices are all over the place. So I got to book a flight. And I got to finish this horrible statement of work. Almost done. I'm going to try to finish it off this afternoon, hopefully. And then this afternoon, if I don't postpone it for the 6th time, Franklin and I are going to do what we're calling a project design exercise. And we're going to design a customer file import from Excel. And what is the process of designing that? Requirements, planning, architecture, how would we implement this in BC so that he gets that experience and understands a process as to how I would do it so he can understand that. And when I was looking up my flight options, I am not yet at gold for 2026, so I need 3,318 miles. So I need to buy a higher fare ticket to get those points or miles or whatever. So, yeah. And Summit NA road shows, it looks like we have 2 coming up. Houston, December 9th, Fort Lauderdale, December 11th. Double check the dates. And there are many other, well, there may be some, I think Dynamics Communities. I think that's it for the year, other than Summit. So I think they're winding down the local user group activity. Excellence update, and I think I'm missing some Berlin stuff, but Excellence update. Jocelyn is absolutely killing BC Financial Reports. She is learning the account categorization, row formats, and on quite a doozy of a project. David is wrapping up some report layout changes and cleanup. Ronald is up to his knees in Macorma Payment Hub and learning how to use their super check. And strangely, we've run into some weird issue where the Macorma action just isn't showing up for us. We've tried it in 2 or 3 environments and it's not showing up despite adding new permission sets. So we have a support ticket with Macorma to try to figure out. They're kind of like, we don't know what's going on either. It looks like a permission set issue, but he's going to have a call with Macorma support to try to figure out why we can't get access to certain windows. And then he has been learning our new Blue Dragonfly Bill.com MEM integration, quite a mouthful app. And he's done testing on that. We've done the training. So he's going to be on the go live call today with the customer to learn more. And Franklin has completed his E4CC program and the additional conversational classes that he signed up for, where he gets on a call at 8 p.m. and has hour and a half conversations with other students to practice his English. So awesome job, Franklin. He's made amazing progress, and we can have conversations about Business Central software development now. And we're going to work on that Excel file import. This week he did a code review with our senior developer. We learned some things, talked about design, talked about choices, naming, things like that. And Fatima is continuing her PMP training. She's doing a 10-hour, I believe, video series, and she is, I think, 70% of the way done there. And yeah, she's learning about budgeting concepts, project types. So that is awesome. And we are starting to have her track tasks such as, hey, Fatima, we got this pipeline error for this project warning us of BC27 field removals, feature removals, breaking changes, whatever. We have several of those for V27. And so we've said, hey, Dave and I said, well, can we have Fatima help us with this? Because we're going to forget about all of these because we got too much going on. Perfect. So he was in agreement with me, which I'll get to, that Fatima can help us. And she is also helping with El Coyolar Christmas Festival planning. And Eric says that once Jocelyn becomes a financial report expert, she'll be ready for my advanced financial reports app. And so, Mr. Horgard, you are going to have to sell us on that app and make it very clear, abundantly clear, why your advanced financial report app is more stellar than the stunning and brilliant Business Sense or financial reports. And maybe we'll make you sell that to Jocelyn. But really, the ultimate boss is Tanya and Alyssa. You will have to convince them that your advanced financial reports app is priceless. Yes. If you've worked with ISVs as a partner, customer, or ISV, you know how hard it is sometimes to convince partners or customers that your ISV solution adds value because they say, this base feature is good enough. Yes, it has some missing functionality, but we'll deal with it. That seems to be the default position for a lot of people, that it's a really high bar to have them adopt an ISV solution for the final 10, 20%, even though they are experiencing some pain. And usually it has to be something critical or, a serious gap that they just can't achieve without that solution. So regarding Fatima helping us, I can't remember how to say it. Gestión, I don't think it's gestión de proyectos, project management. And I would argue that a project manager, a true high-level professional project manager, does not need to be an SME. And the pushback I get is, Steve, how is that project manager going to help us with syntax errors and pipeline errors and debugging and deployment errors? My answer is they are not, nor should they. That is not the job of a project manager to tell a developer how long something should take, or which architecture to choose, or how to refactor code. That is not the job of a true project manager. And a project manager should be able to manage resources across multiple projects, multiple domains of knowledge, whether that's Jocelyn doing financial reports, David doing report layouts, Ronald doing Macorma or Continia, or Bill.com integrations, or Franklin doing development, or Steve running around like a chicken with his head cut off. The project manager said, say, Steve, sit down, get this statement of work done. It is due tomorrow, right? Franklin, how are you coming along with this PTE? Are you 30% or 80% because you've burned 60% of the budget? You better be at least 60%. Otherwise, we need to stop, figure out why you're way over budget. Jocelyn, are you stuck on this financial report layout? Do we need to call in Tanya to get help? They are a facilitator, a manager. They are monitoring what's going on. They look at the project documents, the budgets, the deadlines, the tasks, the exclusions, the scope, right? They keep you on track. Their job is not to tell you how to do something. They solicit that information from the team. And Eric says most PM projects cannot sustain a true PM because true PM requires sub PMs knowing stuff. Without sub PM, the PM needs to understand the tech. Agreed. In our space, that is exactly what we see, that you have someone who essentially is playing the role of project manager. They are the deliverable, they are the subject matter expert and the practitioner performing the delivery. My argument is that doesn't work well, and that's why you have developers who spend 40 hours going off the rails, blowing the budget because they cannot develop and be deep in the code and project manage at the same time. So you need that. And most partners, certainly every partner in organization I worked with, just does not have the budget or financial means to pay for a true project manager. And that is where we're trying to come in, bring in Fatima, and have her learn that role and help us. So it's an experiment. We're going to see how it goes. I'm a believer. I could be the sub PM facilitator. Tanya can be the sub PM. Alyssa can. So we have the experts on call. And so Fatima will help manage the team, keep everyone on task, monitor budgets. She'll learn the formalities of project management, and she can call in the experts when needed to help, right the train. But we need someone to monitor and just run the circus, right? Herd the cats. So Ted says project owner is not the project manager. Right. Like I know that my senior dev, he can be the best dev in the world, but he gets stuck. And I talked to him. He's like, yeah, I spent 2 days on this. I'm like, no, you cannot do that. You cannot spend 2 days when you get stuck on a problem. You stop after 2 hours. We use the word I hate the most, time box. You got to stop and raise your hand and ask for help. Do not make the project go off the rails because you spent 8 hours or 16 hours dealing with an issue. So this is an example. Hey, Fatima, Dave and I need to get your help tracking and managing development-related tasks. Below is one that could be entered in Asana and managed, right? She doesn't need to know what this is. She needs to know Steve and Dave need to get this done by November 10th. Otherwise, we're going to have problems. So she needs to track it, follow up. She doesn't need to know the first thing about DevOps, pipelines, dictionaries, average days to pay. She doesn't need to know about the code or what V27 is. She just needs to know, Steve and Dave, you got to get this done by this deadline or else. That's what I'm asking for. So, welcome, Fatima. You're in for quite a ride. Okay, Q&A. I think I got nothing because I got to jump in the car and deliver a science experiment to my daughter's school. So it has been an exhausting week and I still have an entire day to go and it is a long road ahead. But have some coffee, learn some Business Central, check out Mr. Hogard's plethora of product offerings and challenge the value that it brings to your organization. Make Eric do some work and sell his products. Not just sit back and make YouTube videos all day, right, Eric? So anyway, cheers, Ted. May your firewall be secure, and everyone else, go learn some BC craziness because I swear there's so much craziness that it's a career, right? So vinegar and baking soda volcano, close. It is a measure of the thermal capacity of some experiment and developing insulation designs in order to retain that heat, something like that. So I have to basically deliver a foil covered cardboard box with cotton balls in it. Yep. So enjoy your weekend. Have a good one. Que tengas un buen fin de semana. Adios. Oh, where's my slide? Later, dudes.